Hey guys, it's Girl Blog, and I wanted to tell a little story. It was May 27th. That day we were doing like a cookout, and my aunt and uncle, who were my guardians, and all of their kids and everyone was out there, and Brown and we were all gonna go swimming because we had the pool up and going, and we had a like barbecue and all this fun stuff. And so Brianna's sister, Dominica, my cousin, was in town, and we lived in the country about 10 miles out. 5 miles dirt road and then 5 miles on a small highway. Got in, and I texted Dominica, said, hey, I'm on my way in town. I texted her, and I put my phone either in the cup holder or in the seat next to me, and I'm driving. And for some reason, the radio, I had it up really, really loud, and I know that's not smart because that can distract you. But the roads have been just graded, and if you've never driven on a graded road, especially on that road, a lot of roads are really good. Like, dirt roads are really graded well, but for some reason our town did it really badly. We always, for one, got nails in our tires and always had flat tires, had to do fixed flat all the time because we didn't have enough money to go get new tires, but also because you're going to get a new freaking nail in your tire like shortly after. So I mean, you just put fixed flat in and it fixes itself or whatever. And so I know that the graded roads are pretty bad, and if you've ever been on a dirt road, there's like the road, and then usually there is a middle area where people drive, and so there's like a pretty straight path so you won't kind of swerve. And I'm in that path, but on the sides of the road that is close to the ditch, there are like piles of dirt that the truck just didn't grade all the way through and make it flat. And so they just kind of pile up on the end. And whenever a road is freshly graded, it is very high. It's very bad. And if you get into it, it kind of pushes you around, and it's a little hard to get out of it if you're not a very good driver, or experienced driver would be the better word. So I'm driving, and my uncle that had driven with me had practiced with me a lot on that specific road going that specific way to town, and it was mostly because he just wanted me to feel comfortable, and we had always gone about 40 to 45 miles an hour. He told me to never go over 50 because it's very hard to control your car, especially a top-heavy car in the country on a graded road, especially freshly graded. If it were a little bit flatter, if people have been driving on it for a while, it starts to flatten out, and people start to flatten all the road out, and so it's pretty smooth sailing. But it freshly was graded, and so there was like barely any leeway on that middle. And I just wanted to kind of give you a background so you kind of know about the road and why, like, what happened. It was just a normal radio, and I don't remember what station it was on. It was like on some station, but there's two stations. One, it's like 93.3 and then 104.7. Probably doesn't matter, but just to say, like, it was on one of those two, and it was a commercial, and like they were talking, so I wanted to change it to the next station, and I was like touching it, and apparently my foot, because I'm not a very experienced driver, was pressing on the gas more and more and more, and I didn't really, not that I didn't comprehend or understand that when you press the accelerator more, then the car is going to go faster, but I just, for a few seconds, I wasn't paying attention, and the car had sped up from 45, 50 in that area to now 70, 72, 75. And I am still looking at the radio, kind of like glancing, like not really paying attention like I should have, and all of a sudden I feel like a big jerk. And I'm now on the right side of the road, and the grading is pulling me, and so I'm scared because the ditches where I was driving at was very, very deep, like pretty freaking deep. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, they were probably up to about my hip area deep, and I'm like 5'2", 5'1", so it's pretty deep. And so I got really scared, and so I tried to overcorrect myself, and instead of just slowing down and going into the ditch, which I probably would have been okay, it probably would have been pretty bumpy and pretty hard, but I could have just gone into the cornfield and been okay. But me as an unexperienced driver, I got really scared, and so I grabbed the steering wheel and I jerked it over to the left side, and now I'm hitting the grading on the left. And as I try to go overcorrect myself again, I turn and the car flips. How do you explain it? It flips nose it nosedived, if that makes sense. Like the front of the vehicle nosedove, and then all of a sudden I started flipping on the side. And all I remember really flipping on the side is saying no, 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 like crying and saying no. Like I felt like I was going to die. I was like, I am not supposed to die this young. I'm 15 years old. Like I'm like bawling my eyes out, and it felt like forever. It was in slow motion, but it's hard to remember everything. All I do remember is my neck feeling like it's being cut with freaking like scissors, and I remember a lot of glass flying everywhere and just tasting dirt and being very, very thirsty. So finally I stop, and the car is flipped upside down on top of itself. And the car had flipped so hard that my tennis shoes that I was wearing had actually flown off. I was now shoeless, and it was very easy for me to get out of this car. Like surprisingly easy, too easy, honestly. Like I unclipped my seatbelt, and I just remember like falling, because I'm upside down. I'm falling, and there's so much room for me to just climb out this window, and somehow this window shattered completely to where there's like no glass or anything, and I surprisingly am able to just get out very easily. So then I think, shit, my phone's in the car. And so I go back in through the window and try to look for my phone. I'm not finding it. It's not on the seat. It's not on the floorboard. I can't really see a lot. There's a lot of glass everywhere. So then I find my phone battery. Like my phone, man, I wish I had it out, but it's up there. It is one of the ones where it was like a slider, but the battery itself, like the whole battery would come off, and then you'd have the phone. And the battery had came off of the phone, but the phone part was gone, and I had the battery in my hand, so I couldn't call anybody anyways. And so I am like looking for my shoes now. The car's still running, and I am covered in dirt. I'm crying hysterically, and I just basically put my tennis shoes on and I start running down the dirt road. I'm 2.5, 3 miles away from my own house. So I'm running down this dirt road back to like towards my house, and I'm like bawling my eyes out, freaking out, like in shock. And I see this car driving this way, and I'm running down the dirt road this way. And he meets me like at the interstate at the four-way stop, and he stops his car, he unrolls his window, and he's this old man in this white truck. And he's like, what happened? Are you okay? Did you get in a car accident? And I'm like, yes, 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 bring me back home. Please bring me back home. And so he's like, okay, get in, get in, get in. So I get in his car, and I'm like bawling my eyes out. He's like, I should take you to the hospital. Where do you live? Where do you live? Are you okay? And I'm like, no, just take me home, take me home. And so now I'm kind of scared and freaking out. I just got into the stranger's car. Now he's like saying he's going to take me to the hospital, but I can't because they need to know where I'm at. And I'm like terrified. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get stolen. So he turns and goes towards my house. He pulls into my driveway, and he's like, are you sure someone's home? Because I had the vehicle, and my uncle's truck was parked like in the back towards the barn so nobody could see it. He's like, are you sure someone's home? I'm like, yes, yes, yes. So I just get out of his car, and also he was very, very nice, and he gave me a bottle of water and said, you can have a drink of water, my water if you want. I'm sorry I don't have much. And I'm like, like, no, I don't want water. I just want to get home. So I go home. I run through our side door, and he follows me just to make sure someone's home. And I like burst open the door. My aunt's sitting on the kitchen, at the kitchen table, while my aunt's daughter, 2 daughters and their kids are in the living room playing and taking care of them while my aunt's cooking supper. And my aunt's like, what the fuck, what? Like, she somehow didn't comprehend that I was the one hurt and that I was in a car accident. And I'm like screaming, crying, screaming, and the old man kind of has to explain what's going on. And so my uncle, he had like a den in the basement, like a man cave. He hears all this, so he comes up and he's like, what the fuck, like, you, what, like, are you okay? And my uncle sees that I'm bleeding everywhere. My leg got cut up pretty bad with all the glass, which is pretty common in a car accident. So my aunt is like, we need to get you to the hospital. My uncle's like, no, let's just go put her in the bathtub and wash her off first. Like, she's covered in blood. She has dirt all over. We need to wash her off. And my aunt's like, shut the fuck up. Are you kidding me? She was just in a car accident. Take her to the hospital. And so, for some reason, my aunt's daughter, that I actually really can't stand, was like, oh, I'll go with. How about you watch all the kids? To my aunt. And so my uncle and my cousin take me to the car, like to the hospital. So I get to the hospital and we go into the ER. And I remember the sheriff's coming, and my aunt eventually was able to come in town, and all my family went up to the well, not all of them, but most of my family went up to the hospital. And by this time, everybody in town knows that I was in a car accident. They just don't know why. Everyone is assuming that I texted and drove while texting Dominica, because Dominica said, oh, well, I got this text message from her. She's thinking that it's her fault. She's scared. She thinks that I just wrecked because of her. I have to get an MRI, or no, a CAT scan, CT scan, CAT scan of my brain to make sure that there was no trauma. They put a head brace over me. Everything is fine. They examined my legs and all my cuts because I have a lot of bleeding, and they discover that I have glass in my foot. So he's like digging in my foot with tweezers while pulling out glass, well, trying to pull out this big shard of glass in my foot, and I'm like crying because it fucking hurt. And so he finally gets the glass shard out after I like had kicked him in the face, and like they had to hold my leg down, and so finally they got it all out, and I didn't need stitches, thank God. They just put little, I don't remember what they're called, but they're these little things that like hold the cut together, that it's not deep enough to need stitches or bad enough, but like your skin still needs to be put together. So it's like a special tape that they use to put over the wounds to help prevent it from like breaking or like needing stitches. Sorry. It's like just to help it like keep it together, if that makes sense. So they put that on me, and then I go home. That's basically it. It was a pretty scary situation for me, not a very fun one. The sheriff actually had talked to my aunt and said how he did not know how I did not live, and if I was not wearing a seatbelt, I would have flown through the windshield or that side window. And even though I did get burned on my neck, that seatbelt saved my life. So I guess moral of the story is, don't think that you're a great driver. If you think you're experienced and can look at something for a few seconds, even if it's texting or messing with the radio, even a few seconds can change your life. And don't overcorrect yourself, and don't drive 70 miles an hour on a dirt road, and also wear your seatbelt, because that, I think, is what saved my life, and also the will of God and knowing that it wasn't my time to go, because that was a pretty scary situation and one of the worst experiences, and I still am actually scared of driving on dirt roads to this day because of that. I think I do have a little bit of PTSD because of that, because I get really, really anxious and nervous whenever we're going on dirt roads, no matter who's driving, whether they've been driving 40 years or 2 minutes. Like, it's terrifying. I hate driving on dirt roads, even if it's like a very flat, straight road, even if it's like almost pavement road, like any gravel, dirt road, sand, anything. I just get very, very nervous and very anxious because of it. So I guess I just wanted to tell that story. Thank you for watching, and I guess I will see you guys later. Thank you for supporting me, and I promise I'll have a video for the 50 subscriber mark. We had plumbing issues to where the plumber came because there was like the toilet water and toilet sewage was backing into our bathtub, and then we had flooding downstairs in the basement because of that, and they thought they fixed it, and then like at like midnight the next, like that same night that they fixed it, rushing water down in the basement, and the freaking bathtub wasn't draining, and there started to be sewage water back in, and so that it had come back. So there's been like a crazy, and then I've also been working a lot, but I promise I will have that video. It might be towards the middle of August, but I promise I'll have it up. I have an idea of what I'm going to do, but thank you for being patient with that, and if you liked the video, give it a like. If you have any suggestions for what you want me to do or talk about, then just let me know. And I just wanted to say thank you again for being supportive and for just basically watching my videos, even if you watched 2 seconds of it. But if you got through this whole video, that's pretty amazing, so thank you for watching. But I am going to stop talking, so I will see you guys in the next video. And again, thank you for supporting me, and drop my phone. But thank you for supporting me, and I will see you guys in the next video. So I'm gonna go and quit talking. Bye.